all of you. Let's begin with a few breaths, my friends. So if you will, exhale everything out, and then take a deep breath in. Letting it go. Another deep breath in. Letting go. One more deep breath in. And let go. And so, aloha. I just got back from Maui. Yeah, I know. Jason and I had set this vacation up a number of months ago, or to take the beginning of the year and just get some time to refresh and step away and not think about home. And then I turn on the news from 3,000 miles away in the middle of the Pacific, and Capitola and Westcliff are on the news, and it's like, there it is. So I will tell you, there's a tiny little part of me that felt a little bit guilty for not being here suffering with you all, but not really. So, with that, let's talk about the weather, shall we? My goodness. A lot has happened here in the last couple weeks. And it's not just here, have you noticed? That the storms are raging. Whether it's here, whether it's on the East Coast, around the planet, the environment herself is in an uproar, right? And there's something here for us in all of this. There always is, if we're willing to look for it, right? And one of the things that's really been on my mind a lot recently as I've been thinking about how the universe works, how nature responds to us, how the cause and effect nature of thinking to manifestation happens. The thing that's really fascinating to me is that there's a bit of a lag time in the universe. You know, if I said, think about a pink elephant, one wouldn't just appear here if we collectively thought about it hard enough, right? Like, there's sort of things take time to show up, right? And this is true of our bodies, right? We make decisions about our health and the food we eat and the things we do every single day. Those choices, over a period of time, eventually manifest as our physical health or lack thereof, right? And oftentimes when crisis hits us, when something happens, it's really easy to think of whatever's going on in the world as being isolated events, as not being part of this cause-effect flow, because we don't always see the cause when the effect is showing up, right? And yet, if we're looking, all of the storming that's happening around us, this is the effect of choices that we as a collective have been making for generations, for decades, right? I've told you this before. I remember being in first grade in the early 90s, and my teacher saying, someday global warming is going to be a thing. Someday has arrived. Here we are. Right? The climate is changing. And not only the environmental climate, all of our climates are changing. Our political climate is changing. The environment is changing. Perhaps in some of us, internally, we are changing. Right? And there's an opportunity here for us, especially now, as things are rising up, grabbing our attention, to ask us, are we actually paying attention? Do we see what's happening and ask ourselves, how am I part of this? What can I do? Where am I involved in what's going on here? And we have to begin to use the opportunity to say, you know what? Life is responsive. The planet, the universe, life itself responds to us for good or for bad. Whatever intentions we put out there, whatever choices we make, whatever we participate in, will create. And the thing about the universe is that it be neutral. The universe does not care what we are putting into it, it will respond. Right? Whatever we put out will come back. right? In this philosophy, we talk about God as consciousness, as the laws of the universe, as nature itself, which means that this God that we're talking about does not have a preference for what happens to us. We do. I certainly do. But I have to understand that God is going to give me whatever I give it. But it's going to give it back multiplied. It's going to give it back magnified. It's going to give it back expanded. Right? And so what we are witnessing, what we are experiencing in the world around us is the result of our collective choices. Is the information that the universe is giving back and say, just so you know, this is the direction that you're headed. Have you noticed? Right? And I remember working with a practitioner a number of years ago, and I do this regularly, and there was something going on in my body and in my life that was getting really uncomfortable. And my practitioner said to me, Elisha, are you paying attention? There's clearly a message here. It seems like the universe is screaming for your attention. I said, yes, I finally started to listen. And he said to me, have you ever thought you could listen to the whisper first? How often do we do that, right? We know we're moving in the wrong direction sometimes. We know we're making not the right choice. We know we're going against our intention or whatever it is that we said we're going to do. But one little misstep isn't going to be a problem. One little left turn isn't going to cause us to go the other direction, whatever it is. And the messages tend to start coming at us. And we go, what was that? Was someone talking? Right? And we ignore the guidance. We ignore the intuition, the things that are going on in our bodies, the messages that are coming from the environment. Perhaps we've been ignoring them a little too long. And so what happens is the joy of the universe that we live in is that when we don't listen, it will just keep prodding. It will keep poking. It will keep talking to us, and it will start to get louder and louder and louder and louder until it gets our attention. Has it gotten your attention yet? Right? And so the opportunity here for us is then to start to think about the fact that what we think about becomes what we believe, then informs what we perceive and what we choose and what we do, which then affects what's happening in the world. So this philosophy tells us, well, then go all the way back to the beginning and start with what you're thinking about. Right? Where are you paying attention? What are you putting your mind into? And as all the water's been going around us, or you when I was in the ocean over there, I've been thinking a lot of, for some reason, Bible stories involving water have been on my mind. And the one specifically that keeps coming into my awareness is the story of Jesus walking on the water, right? And to me, water is always representative of consciousness, of what's stirring inside of us. And there's part of that story where Jesus is walking on the water and, Peter or Paul, one of the disciples, is on the boat and it's like, I want to do that too. And so he steps out and he keeps his eyes on his teacher, on Jesus. And as he does so, he steps out and he's walking on the water. And he's like, oh my God, oh my God, I'm walking on the water with you. And at some point, he looks down and sees that he's standing on water. Or he looks up and sees the storm that's raging around. And the moment he takes his eyes off of Jesus, in that moment, he starts to sink into the water. And there's a lovely metaphor in there for us, right? It's where he's placing his attention that allows him to stay above the circumstance, right? And the moment he turns his attention to the condition, to the problem, to the thing that's happening, it starts to whelm him and take him under. And so there's an invitation in here for us. I was on some of you joined us on a prayer vigil we had earlier this week with Innerlight and Temple Bethel. We were all on Zoom the other night, and we had a prayer vigil for the storming time. and for all those being affected by it. And Reverend Deborah shared a story of someone in their community who a tree fell on the house while she was in bed. The house was destroyed. She made it out with her health. And the thing she told Reverend Deborah is, I'm so grateful I'm alive. The house was destroyed. Gratitude for my life. Right? That's what I'm talking about. You can look up into the gratitude, into what you still have, into the community that's around us, into the good is being called from us in this, or we can get covered up by all of the chaos and the despair that's available. There's plenty of it. But it's where we place our attention that's going to mean everything for how we get through this. Right? On that call, we broke up into some groups, and I heard something that was just really deeply profound for me, which is some of us were sharing. And I asked the group, what is it that you are seeing in this time that's swirling around us right now? And one person said, it's bringing out our humanity when we're in these moments of crisis together. He said, there are people in my neighborhood I've never spoken to before that I've been interacting with in the last couple weeks. And I heard someone else on the call say, you know what, my prayer is that we get more of this. And I said, what do you mean? He said, because it's in these crises, it's in these storms, it's in these breakdowns that our humanity gets ripped open. And some of all that other stuff that we judge each other about kind of goes away for just a moment. And we see the person who needs the connection, who needs the help, who needs the presence of the other. And I'm reminded of many years ago, there's a film called Humanity Ascending, which was created by Barbara Marx Hubbard, who's a futurist. And in the beginning of that film, she talks about a vision that she had many, many years ago, where she says she had this vision where she was in a meditation, and she rose above the earth, and she found herself in some future moment, and she was looking down upon humanity. And she said there was some collective moment of pain that brought us all together. It was in that collective moment of pain that our group collective consciousness came together, and the more of us woke up. And that's the thing I've been reflecting on, is that could it be the invitation from the universe when these great crises and floods and storms come our way, to bring ourselves together and to awaken to the something more that is within us, the something more that is here, to stop fighting and come together? And perhaps we're so distracted by all that's going on that it really does take this big whack to grab our attention. And so what happens then is the choice is ours. What do we do in this time? How do we respond? How do we react? And then to take that inward and take it even deeper and start to think about what are the changes that are being called forth from me, from us, from all of us individually and collectively. What are the shifts and changes that we absolutely must make that is being called upon us from what's happening around us? Because we are part of the environment, y'all. We are not separate from it. We are the life of the earth. And there's something going on here. Our mother is sick. And she's asking for our help. She's begging us for our attention, for our participation. She's begging us to make the shifts and changes that are necessary so that the planet can heal. When I was in Maui, I was speaking to my Airbnb host who's lived there for a while, and she said, the remarkable thing was during the pandemic, what they saw on Maui when all the tourists weren't there was that the fish started to come back. The water started to get clearer. The coral started to heal itself. And we've seen that all around the planet. When we just stopped doing all this stuff, the waters got clearer, the skies got clearer, the animals came back, life started to regenerate. It's like all you have to do is stop doing whatever it is that you're doing that's causing the problem, and the problem will go away. Simple. Just stop it. And whatever that is, we all have a something that we need to give our attention to and shift how we are engaging with it, right? And it could be big things, it could be little things. But we have got to take the opportunity to realize that there's an invitation here. Nothing is meaningless, right? To me, metaphysics, this philosophy of science of mind, is all about metaphor. It's recognizing that the universe, that our higher self, that God is always communicating with us through circumstance, through symbol, through signs, through the weather, through our bodies, through everything that's happening, there is messages. Are we willing to listen to them and listen to them? Right? Because the voice is there. The message is there. The directions are there. But we have to get introspective enough and willing enough to just listen to the guidance. Because we're all being called upon right now. We're all being called up to evolve, to choose in a new way, to be in a new way, to shift how we are operating in the world and start to do things differently. We cannot continue to do the same things over and over and over again and expect something different to happen. Right? And if we see what's happening, which is clearly the result of all the choices that we're making, and we don't like what's happening, guess what? Something has to change. And each one of us have to figure out what that is for ourselves. Because that voice is there. Each one of us has a deep, intrinsic connection to the mind of the universe, to the intelligence that is participating in evolution. And if we can get still enough, if we can listen, the voice will tell us what we need to do. But so many people in this world have been trained not to listen to their bodies, not to trust their intuition, to listen to some authority outside of ourselves. The invitation here is to start to learn to pay attention to that deep internal voice that lives within each one of us, that lives within the life of the planet, that is the life of the universe itself. And when we listen to that, and when we follow that, we cannot make a mistake. But we have to learn to listen. So take a deep breath. Change is not always easy. It's not always fun. Sometimes it's hard. But let us be a people who are willing to do the hard work because we believe in what's possible, because there is a vision calling us forward. And if we ever want to arrive at a world that works for everyone, we have to stop doing all the stuff that doesn't work. And we each have to listen to where those choices are, where we need to make our individual shifts and changes, because each one of us can grab our little piece of the puzzle, and if we just own our part, the whole picture can change. Okay? So take a deep breath in. Let it go. If it's comfortable, close your eyes. And let us just breathe ever deeper into this present moment. And as we breathe, I want each of us to remember that there is something greater than we are that is breathing our bodies, beating our hearts. That there is only one life that is living and breathing in everyone and everything. It is this life force that grows the trees, that shines the sun, that spins the storms, that rains the rain, that breathes us, looks through our eyes. We are life itself. We are part of the life of the earth. We are evolution in motion. But let each of us remember and realize that the power of creation, the power of choice, lives within us. That up until now, evolution has been an activity of chance, but through us, evolution is an activity of choice. That we have to choose to evolve. We have to choose to step into what is next. We have to choose the greater possibility. And we have to choose to wade through and move through the difficult parts in order to arrive at the greater possibility. And so I just speak a word of blessing for this community, for all that is moving around us and within us, that we are a people who are able to hold our minds on the highest possibility, to hold our minds on gratitude, to hold our minds on the truth, so that we be the ones who learn to walk on the water of consciousness, that we be the ones who learn to rise above circumstances where we can demonstrate that there is something more at work here. Let us be the healing presence for those in our communities. Let each one of us live into the example of what it looks like to believe in something more and act upon it. And let us be grateful that we have each other, that we have community, that we are not alone. Let us be in gratitude for all that we have, even if that is just the power and the presence of the breath and the life force that lives within us. Thank God for life itself. And let us learn to get out of the way. Let us learn to participate in the conscious evolution and then in the creation of the world that we want to see. It's only going to come through us. No one else is coming. We're it. So let us live into the call, surrendering always and ever to that river of life that is always carrying us. Let us remember the truth of who we are and that the power is in our hands, in our choices. And let us choose in the direction of our dreams. Individually and collectively, we can bring the good into the world. And so we let it be, and so it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.